Welcome back to the channel. Learn English through simple stories and easy speaking practice. Let's begin. I want to speak English, but I always forget the words. Part 1. Rohan was 23 years old. He lived in a small town and had a big dream. He wanted to speak English fluently. Every morning, he watched English videos. Every evening, he learned new words. He filled notebooks with vocabulary. He wrote sentences again and again. But there was one problem. Whenever he tried to speak English, the words disappeared from his mind. One day, he met a tourist near the railway station. The tourist smiled and asked, "Excuse me, where is the bus station?" Rohan knew the answer. He had learned those words many times. But suddenly his mind became empty. He looked at the tourist and said, bus station, The tourist waited. Rohan felt nervous. His heart started beating faster. Finally, he pointed with his hand and said, "There." The tourist thanked him and left. Rohan felt disappointed. "I study English every day," he thought. "Why do I always forget the words when I need them?" That evening, he sat alone in his room. His English notebook was open on the table. Hundreds of words were written inside. Beautiful, important, opportunity, experience, confidence. He knew all of them while reading, but during conversations, they seemed to vanish. Rohan closed the notebook and sighed. Maybe English was not for him. Maybe he was too old. Maybe he was not smart enough. As these negative thoughts filled his mind, his grandfather entered the room. His grandfather was a wise man. He had spent his life teaching children. "What happened?" he asked gently. Rohan explained everything. His grandfather listened carefully. Then he smiled. "Do you know how I learned to ride a bicycle?" he asked. Rohan shook his head. "I fell many times," his grandfather said. "Did you stop trying?" "No, why not?" "Because falling was part of learning." His grandfather nodded. "Exactly, speaking English is the same." Rohan looked confused. "But I forget words." "That is normal." "But I feel embarrassed." "That is normal too." His grandfather pulled a chair and sat beside him. "Tell me something," he said. "When you were a child, did you speak your native language perfectly?" "No." "Did you make mistakes?" "Many." "Did people laugh sometimes?" "Yes." "Yet today you speak naturally." Rohan thought about it. His grandfather continued. "You became fluent because you used the language every day, not because you memorized thousands of words." Those words stayed in Rohan's mind. The next day, he decided to change his approach. Instead of learning 50 new words, he focused on using 10 simple words in real conversations. He stood in front of a mirror. "My name is Rohan. I live in a small town. I like reading books." At first it felt strange. Sometimes he stopped. Sometimes he forgot words, but he continued, day after day, little by little. 1 week later, he joined an online English speaking group. There were students from different countries. Some were beginners, some were advanced. Everyone was trying to improve. The teacher asked a simple question. "What did you do today?" Many students answered confidently. When it was Rohan's turn, he became nervous. His hands felt cold. His mind started racing. Then he remembered his grandfather's advice. Mistakes are part of learning. He took a deep breath. "Today I woke up at 7 o'clock. The teacher smiled. "Good correction," Rohan continued. "I ate breakfast and studied English." His grammar was not perfect. His pronunciation was not perfect, but something important happened. He spoke. For the first time, he completed several sentences without giving up. After the class ended, he felt proud. It was a small success, but small successes create big confidence. The following month, Rohan developed a daily routine. Every morning, he listened to an English story. Every afternoon, he described his activities in English. Every evening, he spoke for 5 minutes in front of a mirror. He stopped worrying about difficult vocabulary. Instead, he practiced simple sentences. One day, he wanted to describe a beautiful sunset. He forgot the word colorful. Previously, he would have stopped speaking. Now he tried something different. "The sky had many colors," he said. The sentence was simple, but it communicated the idea. That day, he learned an important lesson. Fluent speakers do not know every word. They know how to express ideas even when they forget words. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, his confidence grew. One evening, he visited a local cafe. A foreign traveler was sitting alone. The traveler looked around and asked, "Can someone recommend a good place to visit here?" Rohan heard the question. Immediately, fear appeared inside him. The old fear. The fear of making mistakes. The fear of forgetting words. For a moment, he almost stayed silent. Then he remembered something. If you never speak, you never improve. He walked toward the traveler. "Hello," he said. The traveler smiled. "Hello," Rohan spoke slowly. "There is a beautiful lake near the town. Many people like to visit it." The traveler listened carefully. Rohan continued. "The sunset there is very nice." The conversation lasted only 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes changed something inside him. He realized that communication was more important than perfection. The traveler understood him. That was enough. When he returned home, he felt happy, not because he spoke perfect English, but because he spoke despite his fear. That night his grandfather asked, "How was your day?" Rohan smiled. "I had a conversation in English." His grandfather smiled too. "You see, progress comes from practice." Rohan nodded. For the first time, he truly believed it. The journey was still long. He still forgot words. He still made mistakes. But now he understood something powerful. Fluency is not about never forgetting. Fluency is about continuing to speak even when you forget. And that realization became the beginning of a new chapter in his life. After that conversation at the cafe, Rohan felt more confident than ever before. However, confidence does not mean that all problems disappear. The very next week, he faced another challenge. His online English teacher announced an activity. Next Friday, everyone will give a 3-minute speech in English. The moment Rohan heard those words, his stomach tightened. A speech? 3 whole minutes? He could barely speak for 1 minute without forgetting words. For several days, he worried about it. What if I make mistakes? What if everyone laughs at me? What if I forget everything? The negative thoughts returned. One evening, he called his friend Arjun. Arjun had also been learning English. "I am nervous about the speech," Rohan admitted. Arjun laughed. "I am nervous too. You are better than me." "No," Arjun replied. "I just make mistakes confidently." That sentence surprised Rohan. "Mistakes confidently?" "Yes," Arjun said. "Nobody becomes fluent first and then starts speaking. People become fluent because they keep speaking." Those words stayed in Rohan's mind. For the next few days, he prepared a speech about his dream of becoming a teacher. He wrote simple sentences. He practiced them repeatedly. Sometimes he forgot lines. Sometimes he pronounced words incorrectly. But each mistake became a lesson. Finally, Friday arrived. The online class began. One by one, students gave their speeches. Then the teacher called Rohan's name. His heart pounded. His hands trembled. For a moment he wanted to leave the meeting. Instead, he stood up. "Hello everyone," he began. "My name is Rohan." His voice was shaking, but he continued. "I want to become a teacher because I believe education changes lives." Halfway through the speech, he forgot a sentence. Silence filled the room. The old Rohan would have stopped, but this time he smiled. He explained the idea using different words. The speech was not perfect, yet he completed all 3 minutes. When he finished, the class applauded. The teacher smiled proudly. "Excellent effort." That night, Rohan realized something important. The audience cared more about his message than his mistakes. From that day forward, he became less afraid of forgetting words, because he knew he could always find another way to express himself. Months passed. His listening skills improved. His vocabulary grew naturally. Most importantly, his confidence increased. Every day he practiced a little. Some days were good. Some days were frustrating, but he never stopped. Slowly, English became a part of his life instead of a subject he studied. One rainy afternoon, Rohan visited a bookstore. While exploring the shelves, he noticed an elderly man reading an English novel. The man looked friendly. Gathering his courage, Rohan approached him. "Excuse me, sir, can you recommend a good English book for beginners?" The man smiled. "Of course." They started talking. To Rohan's surprise, the conversation lasted nearly 15 minutes. He still made mistakes. He still searched for words. But something had changed. His mind no longer became completely blank. The elderly man eventually asked, "How long have you been learning English?" "About 2 years. And what is the biggest lesson you have learned?" Rohan thought carefully. Then he answered, "Learning English is not about memorizing thousands of words. It is about using the words you already know." The man nodded approvingly. "That is true." After returning home, Rohan reflected on his journey. In the beginning, he believed success depended on knowing every grammar rule. Now he understood something different. Language is communication. Children become fluent because they use language daily. Adults often become stuck because they are afraid of making mistakes. That evening, he created a new challenge for himself. He decided to spend 1 entire hour each day thinking in English. At first, it was difficult. His thoughts moved slowly. Simple ideas took longer to form, but after several weeks, something remarkable happened. He began thinking directly in English without translating. His responses became faster. His confidence grew stronger. The habit changed everything. He no longer depended completely on memorized sentences. Instead, he started creating his own sentences naturally. For the first time, English felt alive. 1 year later, Rohan's life looked very different. He was no longer the shy student who feared every conversation. He still made mistakes, but mistakes no longer controlled him. One day, his teacher announced an exciting opportunity. An international cultural event would be held in the city. Volunteers were needed to guide foreign visitors. Rohan immediately wanted to participate. At the same time, fear returned. What if his English was not good enough? After thinking carefully, he submitted his application. Several weeks later, he received acceptance confirmation. The event brought visitors from many countries. On the first day, Rohan welcomed guests and answered questions. Some people spoke quickly. Some used unfamiliar words. Sometimes he struggled to understand. But instead of panicking, he politely asked them to repeat. Every conversation taught him something new. By the end of the event, he had spoken English for dozens of hours. The experience transformed him. He realized that fluency does not appear suddenly. It grows through thousands of small conversations. Every greeting, every question, every mistake, every attempt. Together they create progress. When the event ended, one visitor shook his hand. "Your English is very good." Rohan smiled. A few years earlier, he would never have imagined hearing those words. The compliment was not just about language, it was proof of persistence, proof that consistent effort works. Several years passed. Rohan eventually achieved his dream. He became a teacher. One morning, a student approached him after class. "Sir," the student said quietly, "I want to speak English, but I always forget the words." Rohan smiled. The sentence sounded familiar. It was the same struggle he once faced. He invited the student to sit down, then he shared his story. He talked about fear. He talked about mistakes. He talked about forgotten words. Most importantly, he talked about persistence. The student listened carefully. "Sir, what is the secret to fluency?" he finally asked. Rohan smiled. "There is no secret." The student looked surprised. "No secret." "No," Rohan continued. "The secret is practice when you don't feel confident. The secret is speaking when you are afraid. The secret is continuing after mistakes. The secret is patience." He pointed to a small tree outside the classroom window. "Do you see that tree?" "Yes." "It did not become tall in one day." The student nodded. "Fluency grows the same way, one word at a time, one sentence at a time, one conversation at a time." The student smiled. Hope returned to his eyes. As the student left, Rohan looked out the window. He remembered the young man he once was, the boy who froze during simple conversations, the boy who thought forgetting words meant failure. Now he knew better. Forgetting words is not failure. Making mistakes is not failure. Speaking imperfectly is not failure. The only true failure is giving up. If you keep listening, keep speaking, keep learning, and keep practicing, improvement is inevitable. Fluency is not a gift given to a lucky few. It is a skill built through daily effort. And every learner who continues moving forward is already closer to success than they realize. So if you ever think, I want to speak English, but I always forget the words, remember Rohan's journey? Do not stop. Do not be discouraged. Do not wait until you feel perfect. Speak today, learn today, practice today, because every sentence you speak brings you one step closer to the fluent English speaker you want to become. And that journey begins with a single word: the end.